The greater good, what the Tao hide from their citizens, Warhammer 40,000. The first lie was not spoken from my mouth. It was placed behind my left eye, polished until it sounded like truth, and every time I smiled, another dead man disappeared. Her fingers are soft, impossibly soft, as though her skin is covered with a thin layer of some kind of gel. Every time they touch my cheekbone, my temple, the hollow beneath my lower lip, I want to jerk my head away. But I do not. I sit straight, back rigid, hands locked together on my knees. That is how they taught me. That is proper. The Tao makeup artist is small, from the earth caste. Fio Ui, a technical specialist, if I understand their system correctly. She has 3 long fingers and 1 short thumb on each hand, and she uses them like brushes, as if she is painting something onto my face. Perhaps she is. Long ago I stopped knowing the difference between makeup and a real expression. The mirror in front of me is a flat screen built into the wall. The image is so precise that I can see the vein pulsing at my right temple. My right eye, the one I was born with, gray-green, stares back at me from the reflection, and beneath it are dark circles no makeup can hide. My left eye is no longer mine. A smooth white sphere with a red horizontal lens across its center, fitted neatly, without crude scars. Earth cast work is precise, like everything they do. This eye sees in the infrared spectrum. This eye sees the pulse of the person speaking to me and the temperature of his skin. This eye costs more than my old platoon earned in a year. They gave it to me as a gift. That is the word they used, a gift. Silas Crane, my handler, presented it as a reward for my first successful public address. Back then, I did not yet understand that gifts from the water caste are anchors. Each gift is another piece of you that belongs to them now. The Fio Ui lightly touches my scar, a thin white line running from the corner of my mouth toward my ear. The scar was almost erased by laser, but not completely. When I smile, it tightens and makes the smile wider than it really is. Someone from the water caste once said it was a touching detail, that it gave me sincerity. I think they left it there on purpose, so that I would smile more brightly than I can. Behind the wall there is noise, thousands of voices, the rumble of a crowd, the muffled sound of ceremonial music. Today is a large event. Foundation Day. The anniversary of the joining of our world to the Tao Empire. The 3rd anniversary or the 4th, I do not remember. I used to remember. The door behind me opens without a sound, like everything here. Miles comes in. Miles Reed is Gue'vesa too, my partner, assistant, overseer. It is hard to find the right word. He is younger than me by 15 years, with the symbol of Tau Va tattooed on the back of his head. Once he served in the Astra Militarum, as I did. Only he surrendered willingly. Right in the middle of battle he stood up, dropped his lasgun, and walked toward the Tau positions with his hands raised. He tells that story with pride. Every time I nod. I do not even need to pretend. The implant itself produces a mild feeling of approval whenever someone nearby says the proper things. Ready? Miles asks. He wears the parade uniform of the Gue'vesa. Cream and ochre tones of our sept, plates of composite armor over the chest, symbols of the greater good on the shoulders. Not a single imperial eagle, of course. Almost, I say. The crowd is huge, he says with a grin. 10,000 at least, maybe more. Humans and Tau together. Silas said the live broadcast will go out across the whole sept. I nod. The Fio Ui adds the final touch. A faint shimmer along the cheekbones, so the stage lights will not turn my face into a flat mask. She steps back, judges the result, and tilts her head in a Tau gesture that means satisfaction. Gue'vesa Ui Ward, she says in broken Gothic. Beautiful. I look in the mirror. Yes, beautiful, a clean, healthy face. Too healthy for a man who spent the last 15 years in the trenches of the Imperium. Smooth skin as if I am 30 and not past 50. Earth-cast medicine works miracles on the human body, smoothing wrinkles, repairing joints, removing the ache of old fractures. I look good. So good it makes me want to vomit. Miles hands me a data pad with the text of the speech. I know it by heart. For the last 2 weeks I have repeated it in front of the mirror every morning. But ritual is ritual. My eyes pass over the first lines. When I first saw the light of the greater good, I was 42 years old. 42 years of darkness, 42 years of lies. Lies, yes, that much is true. Footsteps sound in the corridor, measured precise like the blows of a metronome. A warrior of the fire cast in full battle armor stands in the doorway, escort or guard, or jailer. The Tao have a gift for calling everything by a single word that sounds better than what it is. Accompaniment, they told me. The Shah's UI, a sergeant in our terms, gives a short nod. I stand, tug my tunic straight and check myself automatically the way I used to before forming up. Every button, every plate in its place. My hands settle behind my back, clasped together. A posture of dignity, a posture of humility, a posture of a prisoner allowed out for a walk. Let us go, I say to Miles. My voice is even, calm. That is how the implant works. It extinguishes every surge of anxiety before I have time to recognize it. It is like standing at the edge of a cliff as a child, with everything inside you dropping away in terror, while someone invisible lays a hand on your shoulder and whispers, "Hush, hush." Only there is no shoulder and no hand. There is a piece of foreign metal inside my skull. We walk down the corridor. The walls are pale, almost white, with thin blue lines of light running along the baseboards. The floor is smooth and warm. The air is clean, filtered, carrying a faint scent of something floral I do not know. The Tao have their own plants. Each step is swallowed by the soft surface underfoot. Silence, light, cleanliness. Once I lived in a world where the walls were made of permacrete and rust, where corridors stank of oil, sweat, and recycled urine, where dust from peeling plaster crunched underfoot and ceiling lamps flickered like dying stars. That world was dirty, brutal, and sick, and it was mine. This corridor, this clean, warm, beautiful corridor, is foreign. I could live in it for 100 years and still feel like a fly sealed in amber. We reach the curtain-heavy fabric panels separating backstage from the platform. Beyond it, the crowd roars. Miles claps me on the shoulder, approving comradely. His pupils are a little too wide. He took a strip before we came out. The Tao call them harmonization wafers, a small pressed sliver of something under the tongue, and a minute later the world becomes a little softer, a little warmer. Among humans they have a simpler name, hushers. The Earth caste gave humans access to them in the second year, a gesture of goodwill as they explained. I stopped taking them after 6 months. I noticed that without them, I began to feel nervous, and with them, I stopped thinking. Caleb, Miles says, "What is wrong?" I am standing before the curtain staring at my hands. My fingers are not trembling. Of course they are not. The implant. Nothing, I say, let us go. The curtain parts, light strikes my face. Unity Square. Once it was called St. Adelaide Square, and in the center stood a 30-meter plinth bearing the Aquila, the two-headed eagle of the Imperium. The eagle looked west and east at once, bronze wings spread wide. When the wind struck its breast, the hollow feathers hummed as though the emperor himself were roaring softly. I remember that sound. When I was a boy, we ran here from the lower block to hear the eagle sing. The eagle is gone. In its place is a flat round platform of white stone, and above it floats a vast holographic Tau symbol. Two crescents facing each other, hovering in the air, shimmering blue and gold. Beautiful, if you forget what stood here before. Beautiful. The crowd is thousands strong, no fewer. Miles guessed too low. Humans and Tau mixed together. Warriors of the fire cast in ceremonial armor. Diplomats of the water cast in long robes. Earth-cast engineers with hands smeared in something silver. And humans. Ordinary humans, men, women, children. Some wear Tau-style clothing, cream and ochre. Others still wear old imperial coveralls, faded, with the patches cut away. Someone has shaved his head and painted the symbol of Tau on his scalp in blue by hand, crookedly. Someone stands silently with hands folded over his stomach, as I do, in a posture of humility. I walk onto the platform. The lights are Tau technology, soft and diffused, no blinding beams. Instead of a microphone, there is a relay drone, a small sphere hovering level with my chest. My voice will carry across the square, amplified, processed, slightly corrected. The Earth caste learned how to make a human voice sound more confident, deeper, warmer than it truly is. I begin to speak. When I first saw the light of the greater good, I was 42 years old. A pause let the crowd hear the number, 42, a long time, a whole life. For 42 years I lived in the darkness of the Imperium. For 42 years I was told that I was dust beneath the boots of the Emperor. Expendable matter, whose only purpose was to die for the interests of people who would never know my name. Silence. The crowd is listening. I feel the implant send me a light wave of confidence, thin, almost imperceptible like a morning breeze. I served in the Imperial Guard, the Astra Militarum. That was what they called us in High Gothic. In Low Gothic, we were cannon fodder. Someone in the front rows gives a bitter, knowing little laugh. Former guardsmen. There are many here. After the Damocles Gulf campaign, thousands of Imperial soldiers remained on this side. Some surrendered, some were captured, some simply ended up here, as I did. I was told that Xenos were evil, that blue-skinned demons wanted to destroy humanity, that any contact with them was heresy punished by execution. Then I came into their hands. And do you know what happened? I know that at this moment the drone shows my face in close-up. The scar, the implant eye, the cream-colored uniform. They fed me. They treated my wounds. They gave me clean clothes and a roof over my head without prayers, without bless the Emperor, simply because I was a living being who needed help. A murmur of approval, applause measured and rhythmic as the Tao teach it. 2 short claps, a pause, 2 claps. I have heard that rhythm so many times that it comes to me in my sleep. I continue. The words come easily, rehearsed dozens of times, polished to a mirror sheen. I tell them of my conversion, of how I gradually understood that the Imperium is a prison for billions, and the greater good was the first ray of light I had ever seen. Every word is correct. Every word carries a little hook, catching on the doubt in the soul of a listener and gently drawing it in the desired direction. The Water Caste writes these speeches masterfully. I only give them voice. There are parts of the speech I hate more than the rest. The part where I must tell them how we were fed in the Guard. Gray mash diluted with recycled water. Vitamin slabs that broke teeth. Once a weak synthetic protein that left half the company clutching their guts for the next 2 days. It was true, absolutely true. But the Water Caste used that truth like a lock pick. It slid into the listener. He recognized his own life in it, and his resistance softened. After food came the passage about medicine. In the Imperium, if you were wounded, they patched you at a field station, injected you with a painkiller that lasted an hour, and sent you back into the line. If the wound was serious, a chaplain read your final prayer while the medic saved the bandages for those who might still be useful. Here, in the Tau Empire, they restored my damaged eye. They healed the old fracture in my collarbone that had tortured me for 10 years. To me, a human, a former enemy, they gave better medical care than I had ever received from my own Imperium. Also true, also a lock pick. The cleverest part is that they never lie. Not one direct lie in my speeches. All of it is clean, distilled truth. But there are different kinds of truth. You can tell people that you were fed, healed, and not beaten, and it will be true. You can leave out the part where they stunned you, dragged you away, opened your skull, and planted foreign silence inside it, and formally you have not lied. The Water Caste does not work with lies. The Water Caste works with what is left outside the frame, and I leave it outside with them. The hardest moment is the ending. Their I must speak a name, an imperial name, the name of someone I lost in the Guard. In the script it is supposed to be a friend, a comrade, someone close. The water cast left that detail to me. Choose a name that matters to you, they said. It will work better if it is real. I chose Jonah Price. Private Jonah Price, 20 standard years old, a mole on his cheek, pulse rifle shot to the chest, direct hit, his blood on my face. Every time I say his name, I feel something hot and sharp stir inside me beneath the layers of the implant, and every time the implant smothers it. Today I say, my friend Jonah died in a war that had no meaning. He deserved better. We all deserved better. My voice trembles just enough to be noticed. The audience takes it as sincere emotion. The applause is louder than usual. And then I see him. 7th or 8th row on the right. An old man, 70 perhaps, maybe more. A wrinkled face, burned by sun and wind. One of those faces people have when they have lived all their lives in the lower levels of a hive. Dark eyes set deep, and a long slanting scar from the forehead across the bridge of the nose and down below the jawline. I know him. I do not remember from where, but something inside me, deeper than the implant, deeper than the makeup, deeper than all the layers they have hung on me over these years, jerks like a fish on a hook. My tongue stumbles. The word greater catches somewhere between throat and teeth, and I force it out half a second late. Half a second, on the broadcast perhaps no one will notice, but I notice, and the implant notices. Instantly it sends a pulse, a tiny electric kiss into the left temporal lobe. The anxiety goes out like a candle in the wind. I continue the speech and bring it to the end. The final words, for the greater good, for our common future, for the world we deserve, drown in applause. I stand on the stage and smile. The scar tightens, and beneath all the layers of calm in my head one thought ticks quietly, like the heartbeat of a mouse. Who is that old man? Where do I know him from? The civilian grav skimmer belongs to the Earth caste, without markings, without weapon nodes. Just a flying capsule. Inside it is like an operating room. White walls, soft seats, the faint hum of an anti-gravitation engine. No shaking, no vibration. You simply float over the ground as if in a dream. Once I rode in chimeras, rusting, rattling, stinking of exhaust and oil. Every rut struck the spine and teeth chattered over potholes like dice in a cup. Here there is silence. Warm cotton silence wrapping around you from every side. I sit by the viewing panel and look down at the city of Torkin. Once it was Torkinhive. A third-class hive, 3 million residents, 2 assembly works for lasguns, 1 recycling station, 17 levels of hab blocks. From level A, the upper decks for administratum officials, down to level R for workers, where I grew up. Level R meant ceilings 2 meters high, water by schedule, light 8 hours a day, rats the size of fists, and a heavy sour smell that bit into the skin so deeply that no shower could wash it away. If someone had told me then that this city could be rebuilt, I would have laughed or punched him. The Tau remade the central massif in 2 years. They removed the upper plates, those very ceilings of permacrete that pressed down on the city like the lid of a coffin. They cut shafts for light, resettled districts, stripped hab blocks down to their frames and wrapped them in new composite. The hive was still sick. The outskirts were untouched. The lower levels still rotted, but the center was already breathing, and the sky had already been shown to it. I look through the viewing panel and recognize nothing. Smooth, pale walls, wide streets planted with trees, buildings 2 or 3 stories tall with huge windows. Above them, instead of industrial smog, open sky. Beautiful, clean, proper, and utterly foreign. Miles sits opposite me, scrolling through something on a data pad. The Shah's UI, a fire-caste warrior, stands by the door, still as a statue. The driver, also Tau from the Earth caste, guides the vehicle in silence. I close my eyes and try to remember. Here, at this intersection, there was old Harold Fletcher and his stall, where he sold fried mushrooms from the lower ventilation shafts. The mushrooms stank of sulfur, but they were hot and filling. Harold always slipped boys an extra portion if they brought him broken parts from servitors. He resold them to tech priests. Harold was taken to the factories in the first year of integration. The Earth caste needed hands for reconstruction. He never came back. Perhaps he worked somewhere in another sector. Perhaps he was reassigned, as the water caste says. They have a word for every disappearance, and it smells of paperwork, not blood. I open my eyes and look at a tree planted in the middle of what used to be the street. It is a tau tree, tall, with bluish bark and leaves like wide palms. They plant them across the city. Miles says they clean the air 3 times better than imperial filters. Perhaps they do. Only once here stood the chapel of St. Adelaide. Small, shabby, with a cracked stained glass window and a bell that rang every morning at 6 o'clock. My mother took me there on holidays. I remember the smell of candles, real wax, not synthetic, and the voice of the preacher, hoarse and cracked. The Emperor protects. The Emperor protects. The implant stirs softly. I feel the familiar wave, warm, enveloping, as though someone has thrown a blanket over my shoulders. That is what it does when I think of the Emperor. Thinking is permitted. They do not even forbid me to pray. The water caste explains that faith in the Emperor is acceptable so long as it does not hinder service to the greater good. They repackaged him the way expired ration bars are repackaged. The Emperor, great ancestor of humanity, symbol of the unity of the race, historic leader worthy of respect. They cut the god out of him and left an icon. Hung him on the wall as a picture, safe and dead. But the implant reacts to certain thoughts. It does not block them, no. It only muffles them, makes them quieter, as if turning down a volume dial until the voice of my mother, the voice of the preacher, the voice of Sergeant Stone, all become a little more distant, a little less real. After a while you grow used to it. You stop hearing them at all. Then there is only silence, and the voice of the water caste, even calm, for the greater good. We pass a school, a new school built by the Earth caste, 1 story, large windows, a playground in the yard. Through the glass I see a classroom. Children sit at an oval table, and before them stands a Tau teacher from the water caste. On the wall is a map. Not of the Imperium, not of the Segmentum, but of the Tau Empire. Septs, trade routes, colonies. A world in which the Emperor is not mentioned. The children are drawing. One little girl, maybe 6, red-haired with a braid, lifts her picture and shows it to the teacher. I cannot see what is on it, but the teacher tilts her head, a gesture of approval, and pats the girl on the crown. The girl laughs. I look at her and think, she does not remember. She was 3 when the Tau came. For her the Imperium is a word from a lesson book, a frightening word, a dark age from which they were rescued. She will grow up in a clean city, eat good food, learn the Tau language, wear cream-colored clothes. She will never hear the bronze eagle sing in the wind. She will not know what it is to pray in a half-dark chapel, with candle wax dripping onto your fingers and the preacher rasping, "The Emperor protects." And perhaps she will be better for it. Perhaps she will live a long, peaceful, healthy life without war, without hunger, without fleas and level R rats. Perhaps the Tau really did give her what the Imperium could not. Or perhaps they simply took from her the right to choose, and she will never know it, because one cannot mourn what one cannot remember. Miles notices where I am looking. "Beautiful, is it not?" he says. "When I came here this was a dump, literally a mountain of refuse and broken permacrete. Now it is a school with real teachers. The water caste sent 4 of them just for this district, 4 for 1 school." "Yes," I say. Miles frowns. "You are doing it again." "Doing what?" "That thing you do when you look at something good, and seem as if someone shoved a lemon in your mouth." I say nothing. Miles sighs and returns to his data pad. Silence hangs between us, heavy and awkward like wet flannel. The transport stops. We have arrived. I step out and look around. A residential sector. My sector. An apartment on the 2nd floor, 2 rooms, a separate washroom, a separate kitchen. By the standards of the Imperium, quarters for a mid-ranking officer. By Tau standards, standard housing for a Gue'vesa UI. Nothing special. On the wall near the entrance is a poster. I see it every day, but today for some reason I stop. On the poster, a smiling human in Gue'vesa uniform stands beside a warrior of the fire caste. They are shoulder to shoulder, and beneath them is an inscription in Gothic and in the Tau language. Together for a common future. The human on the poster is me. My photograph was used for propaganda in the first year. I never even signed consent, not that they require it here. Miles touches my elbow. Caleb, Silas is waiting for you in an hour. The tea room. I nod. The tea room, of course. The tea room of Silas Crane is a room on the top floor of the administrative building. Panoramic windows, a view over the city, a low table of black wood, real wood, not synthetic, 2 flat cushions for sitting, a small, delicate tea set with thin cups in which a golden liquid trembles, smelling of grass and something sweet and unfamiliar. Silas Crane sits across from me, a Tau of the water caste, tall for his race, lean, with long fingers wrapped around the cup so carefully that he might be holding a newborn child. His skin is blue-gray, a little darker than that of most Tau, a sign that his sept comes from a world with a hotter sun. His eyes are large, dark, without pupils in the human sense. Just 2 deep, bottomless lakes that look at you with an expression of endless patience. He speaks Gothic better than many humans. The water caste spends years studying human languages, gestures, and expressions. They know when to smile, when to frown, when to hold a silence. Crane is one of the best. 3 years ago he supervised my adaptation. 3 years later he still supervises me. I suspect he will supervise me until I stop breathing. A wonderful speech, Caleb, he says. His voice is soft with a light accent. The Tau cannot reproduce certain consonants precisely, especially the passage about your first day here. Very authentic. Thank you, Silas. He sips his tea. So do I. The liquid is warm and faintly sweet, pleasant. However, he sets the cup down. It seemed to me that there was a small pause in the middle of the speech. Around the 12th minute, your voice changed slightly. Do you understand what I mean? I understand. The old man in the crowd, the face, the scar. I stumbled, I say, a small thing, forgot a word. Crane tilts his head. That Tau gesture means doubt or interest or both. Forgot a word, he repeats. You, a man who has delivered this speech dozens of times, forgot a word. Silence. I stare into my cup. The golden surface of the tea reflects my left eye, the red lens, small and bright as a star. Caleb, his voice grows quieter, gentler. The same tone I remember from the first days. A tone that makes a person want to tell everything, open himself, trust. A tone the water caste has honed for thousands of years. We are not enemies. You know that. If something troubles you, I need to know, for your own good. For your own good. 4 words that here can mean anything at all. From we care about you, to we will rewrite your brain if you do not tell the truth. I saw a familiar face in the crowd, I say. An old man. I could not remember where I knew him from. It distracted me. A familiar face. Crane nods. You lived here for many years before the joining. Meeting people from the past is natural, but this must not affect your work, Caleb. You are the face of our unity. Humans look at you and see hope. Any hesitation, any doubt, and that hope cracks. He pauses, then adds more softly as though in passing. This is not my whim, Caleb. The Onui approved the protocol for your program in the first year. I only accompany it. Onui, an ethereal. He says the word the way believers say the name of a saint. I have never seen the Onui. Ethereals do not show themselves to ordinary Gue'vesa, but their presence is felt everywhere. Every order, every protocol, every adjustment, all of it comes from above, from that pale milky silence where those whose rank is not discussed reside. The water caste is the face of law. The fire caste is the fist behind that face. The earth caste is the hands that cut and stitch, and the ethereals are the will that moves everything. They are not seen, but they are everywhere. Crane raises a hand and touches something on the table, a thin panel sunk into the surface. I know what it is, the control for my implant. The wave comes instantly, warm, thick, like hot honey poured straight into the brain. The anxiety that had knotted my stomach for the last 2 hours dissolves. The face of the old man in the crowd blurs, becomes indistinct, like a photograph dropped into water. I still remember that I saw him, but it no longer matters. There, Crane says, better. Better, I answer. And it is true, I really do feel better. I always feel better after adjustment. That is why it sickens me. He smiles. A Tau smile is different from a human one. Thinner, shorter, but they have learned to show it to humans in a way that reads as goodwill. Caleb, in 3 days you have a visit to the re-education sector. Your usual route, meeting new arrivals, personal example, conversation. Are you ready? The re-education sector. The water caste likes the word re-education. It sounds soft, pedagogical. In truth, it means barracks surrounded by a force field where they keep people who refuse to accept the greater good. Captured guardsmen, partisans, those caught with imperial symbols after the ban, those who simply said no. I am supposed to go there once a month, walk through the sectors, smile and say, look at me, I was just like you and now I am Gue'vesa UI Ward. Hero model living proof that the Tau are the best option. Some listen, some spit. Once someone tried to strike me. The guards stopped it before the fist reached my jaw. They took that man away. I do not know what happened to him. I never asked. Not because I did not care, but because I feared the answer. Ready, I say. Excellent, Crane finishes his tea. Caleb, remember, you are important not only to us, but to all humans seeking a new path. You are a bridge between 2 worlds, and bridges must be strong. A bridge, another beautiful word. Bridges are built so people can walk across them, trample them. No one asks whether they want to bear that weight. I bow shortly in the Tau manner and leave. In the corridor, I stop and lean against the wall. The wall is warm and smooth. The implant runs evenly like a clock. No anxiety, no faces from the past. And still, somewhere deep down in a place the implant cannot reach, something aches. Dull, stubborn, like a tooth hurting beneath a filling. 3 days. For 3 days I sleep 8 hours a night. The implant provides the ideal sleep rhythm. I eat on schedule, rations calculated by the earth caste. I exercise. A program designed to maintain my public image. Twice, I rehearse a new speech for the next event. Once, I give an interview to a Tau journalist. A drone records my words, and the journalist, a woman of the water caste with a very even voice, asks questions whose answers were agreed in advance. Interviews are a separate form of torture. The journalist smiles at me with the measured warmth the water caste pours like syrup over pancakes. She asks, Gue'vesa UI Ward, what would you like to say to people who still doubt? I deliver the text smoothly, without pauses, with the proper intonation. And inside, somewhere beyond the implant, beyond the adjustment, beyond 3 years of correct words, a question turns that I cannot ask aloud. What would I like to say to myself? 3 days and not one thought of the old man in the crowd. The adjustment works. On the 4th day they take me to the processing sector. That is the official name, processing and adaptation sector. In practice, a fenced compound on the edge of the city, a former industrial zone converted into temporary barracks. The force field is invisible, but if you come too close, your skin begins to prickle. One more step and it will throw you back like a rag doll. Observation drones, dozens of them, hover at a height of 20 meters, silent, all-seeing. Guards, warriors of the fire caste, young, disciplined, pulse rifles on their shoulders. They lead me inside. Miles walks beside me, the Shah's UI behind. The gates, automatic and silent like everything Tau, open and close behind us. Inside it smells different. Not like the city, not like my apartment. It smells of humans. Sweat, dirty clothes, cheap soap the Tao issue once a week, and something else that has no name. The smell of being cornered. Thick, animal, it hangs in the air and does not leave, even through the ventilation. The barracks are long and low, made of prefabricated panels. The Tao assembled them quickly. A modular structure goes up in a day. Clean, functional, with heat and ventilation. Better than Astra Militarum barracks if one thinks about it. Better than half the HAB blocks of Level R, where I grew up. But a barracks is a place from which you march out. A barracks behind a force field is a place from which you go nowhere. The first group has 15 people, mostly civilians, men and women from 20 to 60. They were taken last month for possessing imperial religious symbols. One had a small aquila carved from bone, hanging on a cord beneath his shirt. Another had a worn copy of the Imperial Creed, copied by hand, the only book she had managed to hide. I stand before them, smile, speak the prepared words, tell them about myself, about my path to the light. Some listen attentively, some with empty eyes. The woman with the creed sits on the floor, knees pressed to her chest, staring through me. I know that look. I saw it in the trenches. That is how people look when they have already lost everything and expect nothing more. The Tao can give them clean barracks and 3 meals a day. The Tao cannot give them back what they took. The second group are former administratum workers, officials, petty clerks who refuse to move into the administrative system of the water caste. For them, I am an argument. Look, if a battle-hardened guardsman accepted the greater good, then you can too. They look at my uniform, my implant, my scar, and I see calculation in their eyes. They are weighing whether they can gain what I gained without losing themselves. The answer is no, but I do not tell them that. One of them, a bald man with sagging cheeks, a former customs inspector by the faded stamp on his pocket, raises his hand. "Do you live well?" he asks. His voice is level, without anger, businesslike. "Yes," I answer, "I live well." "And if you began to live badly, would you know it?" Miles starts coughing. The Shah's UI steps closer. The man lowers his hand and sits again. He asked a question for which I had no answer, and we both understand that. The third group, 8 people, former guardsmen, visible by their posture, by their hands, by the way they stand. A guardsman may take off his uniform, but he cannot take off the parade ground stance beaten into him by thousands of hours of drill. One stands a little ahead of the others, broad-shouldered, head shaved, an aquila tattoo on his neck that someone tried to burn away, though the 2-headed eagle still shows through the fresh scar tissue. I stop, he lifts his head, and the world collapses. Thomas Stone, Sergeant Thomas Stone, 3rd Platoon, Dagger Company, 47th Torkin Infantry Regiment, my sergeant, the man who taught me how to shoot, how to dig in, how to bind wounds, how not to scream from pain and not to cry when friends die beside you. The man who 3 years ago gave me my last order, hold the position no matter what, and whom I last saw in smoke, thunder, and the chaos of battle. He is alive. His face is older than I remember, weathered, with a new scar deep from temple to chin. The eyes are the same, dark, hard, accustomed to command. The eyes of a man who does not break. He looks at me and I see his face change. Recognition first, then surprise, then something I have no name for, something between fury and grief. "Corporal Ward," he says. His voice is hoarse and low, the same voice that gave orders in trenches under orbital bombardment. "Corporal Caleb Ward, 3rd Platoon, Dagger Company, 47th Torkin." Miles tightens beside me. The Shah's UI takes a step forward. I begin. The implant reacts instantly, sending a wave of calm, but it breaks against something inside me like water against stone. For the first time in 3 years, the adjustment does not fully work. "Corporal Ward," Stone repeats. He steps toward me. The guards tense but do not intervene. I am the senior rank on this visit and protocol requires my signal. So it is true. They told me, but I did not believe it. You are their house dog. Sergeant. I try, Sergeant. He snorts. And I thought you had died like Rowan, like Peter, like Jonah, like all the rest. They died on that position, Ward, every last one. Following your last order, my last order, to hold the line. And you are here, dressed in Xeno's colors with their iron in your head, giving speeches to crowds. The spit strikes my left cheek, warm and thick. The guards react instantly. 2 fire-cast warriors seize Stone by the arms and twist them back. He does not resist. He simply stands and his eyes drill into me. You betrayed us. You betrayed the whole platoon. You betrayed everyone who died for you on that damned height. And the vilest part is that you smile while doing it. They lead him away. 2 other prisoners from his group watch me, one with hatred, the other with something worse than hatred, pity. A third, a young man perhaps 20, with a fresh Aquila tattoo on the back of his hand, steps forward. Sergeant Stone told us about you, he says quietly. Every night he said he had a corporal named Ward, and that corporal was the finest soldier he had ever known, that he would have walked into fire for him. The young man licks his cracked lips. Then they played your recording on the screens in the mess hall, that propaganda. Sergeant went silent for 3 whole days. He did not speak at all, and when he started speaking again, his voice was different, as if something had burned out inside. A guard touches the young man by the shoulder, a gesture meaning enough. He does not resist. He steps back, but his eyes, young, stubborn, full of the same unbroken fury that once burned in mine, stay with me. Miles wipes my cheek with a handkerchief. I stand motionless. The implant runs at full power, wave after wave, layer after layer, flooding my brain with calm. But inside, beneath all the layers, something cracks, quietly, like glass when the first line spreads through it. The visit continues. I say the proper words, smile, shake hands, nod, but the crack does not close. Night. My apartment is quiet, warm, the darkness soft as velvet. The windows are dimmed, the air conditioning silent. The bed is perfectly made, cool. Everything is arranged for perfect sleep. I lie on my back and stare at the ceiling. My left eye, the implant, sees the infrared pattern in the dark. Heat from the walls, the faint glow of wiring. My right eye, my human eye, sees nothing. The implant tries to put me to sleep. I feel it sending signals. Slow, rhythmic, like lullabies. Sleep, rest, all is well. All is not well. Stone, the face of Stone, the voice of Stone, you betrayed us, Ward. The implant responds. Every time the thought of Stone rises, a wave, warmth, peace. The thought sinks like a stone into a swamp. Then silence. Then his face again. I cannot sleep, for the first time in 3 years. And then, at 3 in the morning, when the implant must have decided that my insomnia was an acceptable deviation and eased its pressure, the flashback comes. Not like a memory, like a bomb. Height 417. An unnamed ridge on an unnamed planet, the Imperium called Tormox II, and the Tau called Oris She-Ur. We dug in there 2 days before the offensive. 3rd Platoon, Dagger Company, 47th Torkin. 38 men, 38 lasguns, 1 heavy bolter, 2 crates of grenades, no reinforcements. Sergeant Stone stood at the lip of the trench, scanning the valley with binoculars. I was beside him, loading my lasgun. My fingers shook from cold. Night, drizzle, thick fog. The Tau were somewhere below, inside the fog. We heard the hum of their machines, low, even, lifeless, a sound that made the teeth ache. The trench was chest deep, cut into stony soil. Our hands bled from shovels, nails broken, blisters burst by the second day. We reinforced the walls with stones and scrap metal, pieces of hull from an Imperial Chimera hid on the approach to the height. The Chimera smoked for 2 days and stank of burned promethium. The crew remained inside. During the first night, we heard one of them still knocking weakly against the armor from within, rhythmically. By morning, the knocking stopped. We did not pull them out. At the bottom of the trench was mud mixed with water, and something dark it was better not to examine. Private Daniel Fox lay to my right, making something out of wire and cloth, something like a little aquila. He made them before every battle, handed them to the lads for luck. In the pocket of my tunic I still had. No, not still. They took my tunic on the first day of captivity. The aquila from Daniel went with it. Corporal Ward Stone said, "If I do not come back, you hold the position." He said it the way he said everything, level precise, without extra words. Stone was not the kind of commander who gave fiery speeches. He was the kind men followed in silence because they knew, if Stone ordered it, then it had to be done. "Where are you going, Sergeant?" "To the Vox. The station is a kilometer from here on the next height. We need artillery while there is still time." "Let me go, Sergeant. I am faster." He looked at me. For 1 second something flickered in his eyes, fatigue, pity. Then it vanished. "No, you stay here. You are senior, hold the position." He left. With him went 2 men, Private Rowan Bell and Private Peter Moss. Small, skinny, both from the lower blocks, both my age. Rowan liked to sing out of tune, but loudly, and he had the ridiculous habit of humming the March of St. Cuthbert before an attack, for which Stone threatened to tear off his ears at least 5 times. Peter was silent, but when he smiled, dimples appeared in his cheeks and he looked like a boy, not a soldier. They went into the fog and did not return. An hour later, the tow struck from above. Drones, dozens of drones, each the size of a human head, with marker lights cutting through the fog in red beams, turning our positions into targets. Then hammerheads, heavy grav tanks, drifting from the fog without a sound, like fish rising from deep water. The railguns fired at once. The first volley tore away the heavy bolter along with its crew. 2 men were shredded. The third gunner, a boy named Nathan Rook, lived, but both his arms were taken off at the elbow. He sat in the trench looking at the stumps and made no sound. He did not even scream. He just stared. After that, everything ran together. Screams, flashes, the smell of burned flesh, sweet, sickening. It gets into the nostrils and does not leave for weeks. I fired somewhere without seeing a target because the drones had blinded us with marker lights, and all I could see were red dots dancing through the trench. Beside me, Private Jonah Price, young, 20 standard years old, the one with the mole on his cheek, took a direct pulse rifle hit to the chest. Something hot splashed across my face. I wiped it off with my sleeve and kept firing. We did not hold for even 20 minutes. From 38 there were 6 left, then 4, then only me, half buried in soil, half deaf from concussion, with a lasgun overheated and refusing to fire. This is what happened next in my official version, the one I tell on stage. I climbed out of the trench with my hands raised. The tow accepted my surrender. I understood that war was meaningless. This is what really happened. I did not surrender. I did not come out with my hands raised. The blow came from behind. Something heavy and electric, like a stunning charge, shot through my spine and my legs folded. I fell face first into the mud, mouth full of earth. Someone turned me over. I saw the sky, gray in the fog, and the face of a tow. A fire-cast warrior in a helmet, smooth, featureless, with a red lens in the visor. He looked at me the way one looks at a broken part that can be repaired. They lifted me and dragged me away. I saw the trench, what was left of it, the bodies of my comrades. Someone still moved. I heard a moan, soft, choking. One of ours, still alive, trying to call for help. The tow walked past. They took me and left them. That is what I remember. What the implant has been trying to erase for 3 years. What the water cast rewrote into a pretty story about voluntary surrender and revelation. A lie I repeat with a smile in Unity Square. A lie heard by 12,000 people. A lie they record and play in the mess halls of the re-education barracks, where Stone sits and remembers every face. I sit up in bed, breathing hard. Forehead wet, hands wet, sheets wet. The implant is working. wave after wave. Calm, warmth, peace. But for the first time in 3 years I consciously pushed them away, the way a man pushes away a hand trying to clamp over his mouth. I remembered. I finally remembered, and I am afraid. More afraid than I was in the trench, because in the trench I knew what I feared. Pain, death, whatever would come out of the fog. Here I fear something else. In a few hours the implant may hide this again, and I will forget again, and smile on stage and speak the proper words. And I will never, never know that inside me lives a scream with no one to hear it. Morning, sunlight, clean, warm. The implant is stable. The nightmare from the night is distant like an echo. I feel it at the edge of consciousness. Something happened, something bad, but the details blur like writing on fogged glass. I have to remember, I have to hold on. The first thing I do is leave the apartment without Miles, without a guard. A Gue'vesa UI with Flint 3 clearance has the right to move independently within the residential sector. A small privilege earned over 3 years of exemplary behavior. I walk down the street and think the implant reacts to thoughts. I already know this. Certain words, certain images, certain memories trigger a response, a wave of peace that blurs the thought. But I noticed a loophole. The implant reacts to the emotional charge of a thought. If one thinks calmly, without emotion, as if about something external, the reaction is weaker. I try, height 417, 3rd platoon, evenly without strain as if reading another man report. The implant stirs, a slight warmth barely noticeable, but the thought remains. It does not dissolve. I walk faster toward the old district, to the place where the lower-level market once stood. Now it is a park, tall trees, paths, benches, a gardener drone-trimmed lawn. 2 human children about 7 run along the path laughing. One wears a shirt with the Tau symbol, the other plain gray. I sit on a bench, close my eyes and try to think. Archive. I need access to the archive. Records of the battle on Tormox 2. If they exist and the Tau document everything, every battle, every prisoner, I can find the truth. Find out what happened to my platoon, find out what happened to me, confirm what I remembered in the night. Earthcast Archive. Military records. Access through a terminal in the administrative building. My Flint 3 clearance opens general historical data, but military records for specific operations are another level. They require authorization from the water caste or the fire caste, or, if what Crane said between the lines is true, from the ethereals themselves. I have no right to go there, but I have to. By noon I reach the administrative building. I enter, present the identifier, the chip embedded in my wrist, another gift from the Earth caste. I go to a terminal and sit. The screen lights. The Tau Va symbol, a greeting in Gothic and Tau. Welcome Gue'vesa UI Ward. How may I help? I enter the request. Tormox Oris Shi'ur, Military Operations, 47th Torkin Infantry Regiment. The screen flickers. A message appears. Access restricted. Information classified by the water caste. To obtain access, contact your curator. My curator, poor El Silas Crane, the Tau who controls my implant, my speeches, my daily routine, and apparently my memories. I switch off the terminal, stand and leave. Outside it is sunny. The children are still running along the park paths. A drone trims the lawn. I go home, close the door, draw the curtains, sit at the table and take out paper. Real paper, white, dense with a faint texture. I have kept it for 3 years, hidden in a false bottom of the desk drawer beneath a stack of standard data pads. 3 sheets stolen from the office of the water caste. Back in the first year, when I did not even know why I wanted them. Paper in the Tau Empire is not exactly forbidden, but it is not encouraged. Why paper when there are data pads? Why handwritten text when there are voice recordings? Why anything that cannot be tracked, copied, verified? That is exactly why. I take a pencil, also stolen, also hidden, and begin to write. My name is Caleb Ward, Corporal, 3rd Platoon, Dagger Company, 47th Torkin Infantry Regiment, Astra Militarum. I did not surrender. I was captured. Everything I say on stage is a lie. The pain comes on the word lie, sharp like the prick of a needle into the left temple directly behind the implant eye. I flinch. The pencil jumps, leaving a crooked line across the paper. The implant. It reacts not only to thoughts. It reacts to actions, to attempts to fix something in place, to move out of the head and into the world what should have remained inside, hidden, silent, dead. I clench my teeth and continue. My platoon died on height 417, 37 men. Rowan, Peter, Jonah, Daniel, Nathan, all of them. The Tau took me and left the wounded to die. Again the pain, stronger as if someone is driving a red-hot nail into my skull. The letters swim before my eyes. I blink. The right eye has tears. The left eye, the implant, is dry and dead. The red lens glimmers. And I finish. The water cast rewrote my story. They implanted a device that controls my emotions and suppresses memories. The protocol was approved by the ethereals. I am not a Tau hero. I am a prisoner whom they forced to smile. My hand shakes so badly that the final words are almost unreadable. The pain pulses rhythmically, like an alarm. The implant is striking me from within. Stop, stop, this is wrong. This is dangerous for the greater good. Stop. I set down the pencil, fold the paper, hide it in the drawer beneath the data pads, then lie down on the floor, right on the smooth, warm floor of my apartment, and stay there until the pain fades. 10 minutes, 20, half an hour. The implant soothes me, floods the brain with calm like a machine putting out a fire. Layer after layer, wave after wave. By evening, I no longer remember what I wrote. I only remember that I wrote something, and that it hurt. At night, I take out the paper and reread my own words in a strange, unfamiliar hand, crooked and trembling. And I remember again, and it hurts again. I sit on the kitchen floor, clutching the paper to my chest, and think, this is me. This, written by a shaking hand, is me. And the man on the stage with makeup and a smile is someone else. Someone they have grown out of my body like a parasite. They come in the morning. I have been waiting, perhaps not consciously, but waiting. Somewhere inside, in the part of me that still remembers how armies work, how intelligence works, how any machine of control works. I know they will come because the implant is a two-way device. It does not only give. It takes data, biometrics, stress levels, patterns of brain activity. All of it goes somewhere to someone in real time. I wrote on paper. My pulse jumped. My brain activity changed. My stress level exceeded the norm. The implant reported me to someone. They come politely. Of course politely. They are Tau. 2 FOUI from the Earth caste, middle-ranking technicians in white coats with soft hands and calm eyes. With them are Miles and poor El Silas Crane, my handler, in a long robe of the water caste, holding a cup of tea as if he has merely dropped by as a neighbor. Caleb, Crane says as he enters my apartment, "Good morning." I stand in the middle of the room, dressed, combed, shaved. I even polished my boots. If this is the end, let it be in proper form. "Good morning, Silas." He looks over the room quickly, professionally, the way an investigator looks over a crime scene. The water caste needs no warrant. The water caste needs no permission. The water caste is the face of law here. Behind that face stands the fist of the fire caste, and above them those who are not named aloud. The ethereals, pale shadows from whom all orders spread like ripples from a stone no one has seen. "You slept poorly," he says. "Your indicators are troubling." I slept normally, I lie. The implant does not react to the lie. It reacts only to certain triggers, to thoughts of the Imperium, to stress, to attempts to record forbidden information. Ordinary lies pass freely. Perhaps that is a design flaw. Perhaps not. Perhaps the Tau want me able to lie. A good example is easier to manage. Crane sets the cup on the table beside the drawer where the paper lies. We are friends. We have been friends for 3 years. I want that to remain true. He does not open the drawer. Perhaps he already knows what is inside. Perhaps he does not care. Your visit to the processing sector was difficult. The incident with the prisoner, we know this is trauma. We understand. He says we as if the whole Tau Empire stands behind him. And in fact, it does. We want to help you, Caleb. The Earth cast needs to perform a small adjustment. Your implant has registered anomalies. It is a normal procedure, routine, nothing frightening. Nothing frightening. 2 words that in any universe, on any world, in any language, mean exactly the opposite. What kind of adjustment, I ask? Calibration. Your emotional field has become unstable. Old connections, old memories are trying to break through. This is unpleasant for you and for us. We can correct it painlessly. Painlessly, another beautiful word. And if I refuse? Crane looks at me. His dark, bottomless eyes, without pupils, without expression in the human sense, settle on my face, and suddenly I feel something I have not felt in 3 years. Fear, real, primitive, animal fear that the implant has not yet managed to smother. He does not answer my question. He simply smiles, and that is enough. They take me through the city in a grav skimmer, along the same clean, beautiful streets. Miles sits across from me and does not meet my eyes. The 2 UI remain silent. Crane scrolls through a data pad. The Earth Cast building stands on the eastern edge of the city. White, flat, with enormous windows through which the sky is visible. Inside, the corridors are the same white and warm corridors as everywhere else, but with a faint smell of something sterile. The smell of absolute, inhuman cleanliness. They bring me into a white room with a ceiling softly glowing blue, and a chair in the center, large, comfortable, with armrests and a headrest. On the wall is a monitor where charts and diagrams shimmer, my brain activity in real time. On the wall above the monitor where the Tau symbol would usually hang, I see another mark, simpler, harsher, a pale gold emblem on a white field, the sign of the ethereals, and I understand. This is not medicine. This is a decision from above. They signed it before Crane finished his tea. The UI, a woman not young by Tau standards with wrinkled blue-gray skin, gestures for me to sit. I sit. The chair shapes itself to my body, softly, gently, like an embrace. Gue'vesa, she says in broken Gothic, do not fear, no pain, only rest. You are tired, you need rest. You are tired, you need rest. The words they told me 3 years ago when they installed the implant. The same words, the same tone. Miles stands by the door, hands behind his back, eyes lowered. He does not look at me. For 3 years we worked together, ate at the same table, rode in the same transport. He clapped my shoulder before I stepped onto stages. Now he does not look. Miles, I say. He raises his eyes for a second, then lowers them. Everything will be all right, Caleb, he says. His voice is quiet, even. The voice of a man repeating someone else's words. After the procedure you will feel better. They calibrated me last year too, remember. I was still struggling with insomnia then, and after that it vanished as if someone lifted it away. I remember. Miles disappeared for 2 days and came back different. Calmer, more confident, more cheerful. He stopped telling stories about his old regiment. Stopped calling his Lasgun sweetheart as all guardsmen do. Stopped cursing in low Gothic when he stumbled. He became cleaner, more proper, less himself. Miles, I repeat, they are erasing memory. He blinks, looks at Crane, who stands in the doorway observing, then at me. They do not erase, they correct. They remove what causes pain. Is that bad? What if pain is the only thing left that is real? Miles does not answer. He simply turns away and leaves the room. The door closes behind him without a sound, as always. I close my eyes. Something cool touches my temples, thin metal plates. A faint buzzing, then silence, then light, bright and white, filling the whole space behind my closed eyelids. I feel consciousness leaving me. Not pain, not thoughts, not memories, me. The one who remembered height 417, the one who wrote the truth on paper, the one who looked into the eyes of stone and felt shame. That self dissolves like sugar in water, like morning fog in sunlight, slowly, softly, painlessly. In its place comes someone else, calm, confident, correct, a man who believes in the greater good, a man who surrendered willingly, a man who smiles because he wants to, not because the scar pulls the skin, the perfect citizen. I try to hold on, to cling to myself as one clings to the edge of a cliff when the ground falls away beneath the feet. I try to remember the face of stone, the smell of the trench, the taste of earth in my mouth, the cry of the wounded man in the dark, the false voice of Rowan humming the march. Everything that made me me. The white light consumes it all. Unity Square, Foundation Day, the 4th anniversary or the 5th, I do not remember, it does not matter. I stand on the stage. The lights are soft, diffused, Tau technology. The relay drone hangs at chest level. The crowd is 15,000, maybe more. Faces, so many faces. Humans and Tau together for a common future. I woke 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks I do not remember. Crane said I had been resting. A restorative pause after nervous strain. They showed me my medical records. Normal sleep, normal nutrition, normal physical indicators, everything normal. I am normal. On the first day after rest, I stood before the bathroom mirror and looked at my face. Clean, healthy, smooth skin, clear right eye, red lens of the left, the scar. I ran my finger along the scar and tried to remember where it came from. I remember a fight long ago, before the guard. There were no details, like a photograph with its edges cut away. The center remains, but the context is gone. Miles came for me in the morning, smiling. Well then, hero, ready. A new speech, a new audience. I smiled back naturally without effort. The scar tightened. My voice is level, confident, deep. The speech is polished, every word in its place. No hesitations, no breaks. When I first saw the light of the greater good, I was 42 years old. 42 years of darkness. And when that light finally touched me, I wept not from pain but from relief. Because for the first time in my life someone told me, you are not expendable matter. You are part of something greater. Applause, 2 short claps, pause, 2 claps, rhythm, order. I smile, the scar stretched. My left eye glimmers with its red lens. My right eye looks into the crowd and sees faces, but none of them seems familiar. None catches at me. That is good, that is how it should be. I continue the speech about unity, about the future, about how we, humans and Tau, can live together if we open our hearts. Beautiful words, correct words. Miles stands backstage smiling. He wears a new uniform, still more ceremonial, still brighter. He has been promoted, given the rank of Gue'vesa Saver. Deserved. Poor El Sila's Crane sits in the front row, long fingers interlaced, watching me with an expression I have learned to read. Satisfaction, level and calm, like the surface of the tea in his cup. I finish the speech. For the greater good, for our common future, for the world we deserve. Voice level, eyes clear, back straight. Applause. I stand on the stage and look at the crowd. Everything is good, everything is right. I am Gue'vesa Ui Caleb Ward, hero, bridge between worlds, face of unity. I raise my head and look up at the sky over the square. The sky is blue, clean, with light clouds. Tau trees along the edges of the square rustle, their hand-shaped leaves in the wind. Beautiful. Then one tear rolls down my right human cheek. I do not know why. I feel no sorrow, no pain. The implant runs evenly as a clock. No anomalies, no old memories, no cracks. Only a tear, small, warm, salty. It rolls down my cheek, reaches the scar that runs from the corner of my mouth toward the ear, and for a moment catches in the white groove like water in a stream. Miles notices. He comes over and offers a handkerchief. What is wrong? Nothing, I say. And it is true. I feel nothing, nothing at all. Perhaps that is the point. Below the stage stands a little girl with red hair in a braid. The same one, another one, I do not know. She looks up at me with the awe children give to heroes. To her, I am a hero. To her, I am the man who found the light. She waves to me. I wave back. The smile is natural, light. The implant does not even interfere. There is no need. I am honestly glad to see this little girl. Honestly. And in that honesty is the most terrible thing they have done to me. Somewhere deep, deeper than the implant, deeper than the makeup, deeper than all the layers of calm and correct words, someone is crying. Someone I no longer know, someone I no longer remember. Someone who once was a corporal of 3rd Platoon, Dagger Company, 47th Torkin Infantry Regiment. Someone who knew the names of the dead. Someone who heard a wounded man moan in the darkness and carried that moan inside himself through 3 years of lies. That someone was me. I wipe away the tear and put the smile back on. The scar tightens. The girl with the braid claps her hands and I leave the stage. Miles gives me water. Crane nods shortly, satisfied. The Shah's UI stands at the exit. The city beyond the window glows in the evening sun. White, clean, beautiful. Everything is good, everything is right, everything is for the greater good. And in the basement of the processing sector, Sergeant Thomas Stone sits on the floor of his cell, back against the wall. He is not sleeping. He stares at the ceiling and moves his lips, soundlessly, as if in prayer. They are names, 37 names. Every night 37 names in a circle until dawn. Rowan, Peter, Jonah, Daniel, Nathan, Edwin. Each name a notch cut into a wall. Each name proof that they lived. Stone was not given an implant. Stone refused 3 times. On the 4th time they stopped offering. On the 5th they tried by force. 3 FIO UI had to replace the equipment afterward. Marks from the restraints remained on the wrists of Stone, and blood from his split brow dripped onto the white floor of the white room. He remembers everything, and that is his weapon, the only one he has left. Somewhere between us, between me, the perfect citizen with the empty smile, and him, the broken sergeant with a sack full of dead names, lies the truth. It lies on a white sheet of paper, written by a trembling hand, hidden in a drawer that I open every day without noticing. Perhaps one day I will find that sheet. Perhaps I will read it. Perhaps I will remember. Or perhaps not. Perhaps the paper has long since been taken away. Perhaps it has been destroyed. Perhaps it lies in the drawer of Crane beside a dozen other sheets like it, from a dozen other Tau heroes just like me. Or perhaps one night, when the implant sleeps, my fingers will find the false bottom, and I will take out the sheet and read it. And everything will begin again. Pain, fear, truth, and again the white room, and again calibration, and again the smile on stage. Circle after circle, without end, without escape, for the greater good. In the Earthcast archive, in a file to which I have no access, there is a record. Military Operation Tormox 2, Oris Shi'ur, height 417. In it is the number of the dead, 37 men of the 47th Torkin. In it is the number captured, 1. Corporal Caleb Ward, serial number TK41772229. In a note written by the hand of the water cast, suitable for the social integration program. High potential. Recommendation, 2nd generation neuroimplant. Full biographical reconstruction. Approval from the ONUI received. In the desk drawer of my apartment, beneath a stack of data pads in a false bottom, lies a sheet of paper, white, dense, Tyron standard format, with text written in a crooked, trembling hand. I pass that drawer every day. I open it to take out a data pad. Sometimes my fingers touch the false bottom. I do not know what is there. I do not remember what I hid. But sometimes at night, when the implant enters sleep mode and the silence becomes a little thinner, I dream of a white sheet and the hand of someone writing words on it. I dream of pain and the smell of earth and a voice, hoarse, low, familiar, saying, "You betrayed us." I wake in the dark. The left eye sees the infrared outlines of the walls, the right sees nothing. A tear rolls down my cheek. I do not know why. I fall asleep. In the morning, a new speech, a new stage, a new smile for the greater good. Night shift, Earthcast Archive, Torkin Sector, 3rd grade FIO UI. The storage operator has finished sorting confiscated materials from Residential Sector 7B among standard items, data pads, personal belongings, clothing. One sheet of Tyron standard format paper has been found, white, unmarked. Handwritten text in low Gothic. Contents classified. The operator has passed the sheet to the curator of the social integration program, poor Elsila's Crane. Crane read the text, folded the sheet, and placed it in the drawer of his desk. He did not destroy the paper. Perhaps he collected such things. Perhaps he kept them as proof of the effectiveness of the program, before and after. Or perhaps, and this thought troubled one young FIO UI who happened to see the contents of the sheet, perhaps poor Elsila's Crane kept them for the same reason a hunter keeps the horns of a slain beast. As a trophy. Record made, file closed, access restricted for the greater good.